You're listening to STAGR Cast, brought to you by STAGR Gear. All right, back with another episode of STAGR Cast. This is going to be the last episode of Season 1 for STAGR Cast. And Greg and I are sitting down with Jeremiah Trombly. Where are we? We're in Washington? Washington, Vermont.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's I haven't been out here. This is nice out here. We're going to talk some deer hunting tonight. Talk about your season. You had a really good season this year and the past few years. And I think you mentioned you got into tracking in 2018, right?
2018 is when I first caught the bug.
And you've had a good run since then.
Since then, I've had a good run.
Yeah. Can't beat that.
I'm addicted.
Yeah.
Well, looking around here, it looks like you had a pretty good run before that too.
I definitely did. Yeah.
We're sitting in his trophy room right now, and he's got a lot of really nice bucks in here.
Canadian bucks. A lot of them Canadian bucks too.
Most of them down here are from Ontario.
Yep.
I've been hunting Ontario for like 20 years.
Are you still hunting Ontario?
I have not hunted Ontario in 3 years.
Okay.
In the last 3 years, ever since like COVID.
Yep.
Couldn't get across the border, and then I just started hunting New England and challenging myself with the tracking for sure.
Yep.
But even before that, I started tracking, and I was still hunting Ontario, but I had less time to put into tracking. And like the last couple of years, I devoted the whole season to like trying to combination of tracking and still hunting, doing both.
Yeah, you have to be able to do that with the heat. It's been crazy this past couple of years with the heat early season, and then they don't get snow till the end, it seems like. But yeah, so for those that don't know you and want a little background on you, why don't you tell us about yourself, what you do, and how you get into hunting and all that stuff.
So I'm 43 years old. I've been hunting since I was realistically like 11, 12 years old, but not seriously. Then my brother's the one that really got me into hunting, and I started seriously getting into it more when I was like 16. I think is when I got my first deer. But so I've been hunting then, and as far as like what I do for work, I used to work for a mechanical contractor as their mechanical engineer for years, 16 years I think it was, and that's how I met Greg actually. And I started my own business the last 3 years doing same thing I did for them, but I'm just doing HVAC design for other companies, architects, stuff like that.
Yep.
So, and I work right out of my house. Right here, this is my office.
Can't beat that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a heck of an office.
Yeah. It's so far so good. So far so good.
Good. I have a question for you. Actually, speaking on Canada, is like the wolf problem bad back when you were hunting, or is it? I know I hear a bunch of different stories of like the wolves getting bad up there, and then the hunting getting not as good when you stopped. Was it real bad? When
we first started going up there back in like I want to say it was it 2000? I think it might have been 2000. Don't quote me on that. 2000, 2001, something like. I think it was 2000, and it was what I would call like. What we joke about, my brother and buddies and stuff, was like a buffalo hunt. There were so many deer.
Really?
There were so many deer.
No kidding.
You could sit anywhere and you'd see bucks. But then it was like 2009, something like that, the first crash of a really harsh winter. And so the combination of the winter and killing a lot of the deer, and the wolves feasted on them. Yep. So the wolf population went up. And then the deer like crashed.
Yep.
I mean, the deer crashed. The MNR up there had said it was like 80% of the population perished that one winter. And I mean, I believe it.
Yeah.
It went from seeing tons of deer to we'd leave trail cameras out all year long that would run all year. And that first year after that first crash, it was, I would say we never saw a deer that was over 2.5 years old on camera. So it made us think like, the strongest deer were the 1.5-year-old bucks.
Yep.
Like they were the strongest ones, because then it was the next year, then they were 2.5-year-olds. And we never saw a mature buck.
Wow.
And it was like 2 or 3 years of like really struggling to get on a mature buck. Even seeing it, like you didn't see the buck sign in the woods. The buck sign wasn't there.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there. But we were so invested that we just kept going back. Kept going back. And it's been very good to us.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. My brother, he killed a big one up there this year. But I've heard other people that went up this year, and it was a really, really bad winter again. The last winter was, again, really deep snow. And I know one group of 7 guys that went up that saw 1 deer between them. And another group of two of them really, and there were two others in camp, and only one of them saw deer in a week's, a little less than a week's time. So it goes in cycles. Yeah. It goes in cycles. I mean, I've seen so many wolves up there. I've seen so many wolves.
You just see them run around just like coyotes and stuff up
I've
here?
seen so many wolves. My brother at one point, he had 11 of them single file come in on him.
Can you buy a wolf tag up there?
You sure can. Yeah, my brother's gotten a wolf.
Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome.
He's got it mounted.
Cool.
So like I said, if you ever want to see a real game room, you go even more than this. He's got an insane game room. Yeah.
No kidding. So back early 2000s, it was crazy up there.
It was what we called the buffalo hunt, because it was like you'd pick a buck, you'd pass up. I mean, I had the best tree stand I ever had there. What I call it's like the best tree stand I ever sat in. I'd sit in at daylight till dark. I'm not exaggerating. I don't know how many years I hunted. 10 years maybe. And I would sit in that tree stand, and not one single day did I ever sit there and not see a buck.
Wow. Yeah.
Like I saw a buck every single time I sat there.
No kidding.
Every single time.
Deer all
so I took, like, my father sat in that stand. He killed a buck. Aaron Robtoy, he got his only buck up in Ontario. He sat in that tree stand. And then the very last time I hunted that stand, which was really was just the icing on the cake, was my father-in-law, who passed away. And it was his last time ever hunting, like as he was dying of cancer. And I sat with him for 3 days in that. There was 2 tree stands, because my brother and I filmed for a few years.
Yep.
So I sat in a tree stand with him for 3 days, and he shot one of those bucks that's hanging in my garage.
Wow, that's pretty special. Yeah,
which is the last deer that he ever got, and I got to be with him, which was cool. And I got it on my cell phone.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
I filmed it with my cell phone.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's back when the Benoits, the early 2000s, that's back when they were making their videos, too, for the most part. I mean, down that same time frame.
That wasn't that long ago. That buck that he got was like, I want to say it was 4 years ago.
Yep.
4 years ago. It was the last year I went, so 4 years ago.
Yep. Yep.
But...
so you went from Canada and then switched gears back to the Northeast type of
COVID. You couldn't cross the border.
Okay, yeah.
So, but even before that, so 2018. So I came back from Canada, and I was still working at Mountain Air.
Yep.
And I bought a New Hampshire tag. One of my buddies, Phil, one of my best friends, he was hunting New Hampshire and got me fired up about it. So I went over, bought a tag, went to New Hampshire, and it was like perfect tracking conditions, and I was like not prepared, didn't have the right gear, and I mean, you want me to tell you the story of that one?
Sure.
Real quick?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm walking in, it's like a couple miles in on this road to where the deer sign was that I had scouted a little bit and found some deer sign, cut a buck track, and I followed it. I followed it for not that far, I don't know, half, 3/4 of a mile. And I was coming up onto this rise. You just get that feeling. I was like, he was feeding, he was meandering a little bit, and it was a little bit of green growth there, but you could see, and then a little knob, and then hardwoods beyond it. And I just had that feeling like he's right here. He's right here. And as I'm thinking that, and I'm poking over, and we're looking at each other. And I'd already killed a couple good bucks that year, so I wasn't hungry, or outside. It was a good buck, little basket, 8-pointer, something like that. And I let him go. And I watched him, and I was just like, could have shot. That was cool. I'm like, so immediately I just waited like a couple minutes, and I'm like, that was awesome. I want to see if I can catch him again. So I got on his track, and I followed him again. And when he was running, I was running. This was like maybe against because I didn't wait that long.
Yeah.
Just a couple minutes. But when he was running, I was like hoofing it. Mm-hmm. And I got to a spot where I was coming up, and there was a steep ravine. And I could see that. You could see the topography, and I ran as fast as I could. And before I got to the top, I slowed right down and looked, and he was right down over. And he was stopped broadside. I was laid right down, prone position. I was like, gotcha. I go, that was cool, man. Oh. So he didn't know I was there.
Yeah.
And then I let him get out of sight, and I got on his track again. And I don't know if I bumped him or not. He wasn't running, but he was like a steady walk.
Yep.
And it just went a mile, 2 miles. I don't know. I wasn't tracking myself. But a long ways. It felt like I was walking for half hour, 45 minutes, steady pace. And eventually I was kind of getting sick of it, and I was a long ways from my truck, and I cut a bigger track, and I'm like, I'm taking that one. And without less than 5 minutes, I'm on that track. Nice buck. Nice 8-pointer. 40 yards. No idea that I'm there. Pow! Shot. Got 3 shots. First shot. It was pretty thick, and I'm one that if you don't shoot, you don't get him.
Yep.
So I shot, and I see his head like whip around, and then he ran, and I was shooting a 7 mag with a scope, which we can talk about that. This was horrible. So it's the only rifle I'd ever hunted with since I was 16.
Yep.
And second shot, boom, third shot, boom. And I went down there, first shot, no blood. I'm like, I missed. So close, but it was thick. Second shot, all kinds of blood. And he was just piled up right there.
Oh, wow.
But right from that time, right from that moment, I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was like, that was incredible.
Jesus.
To like walk up on a deer, not have him not know that you're there, was something I'd not done in my life.
Well,
you know?
that kind of day right there tells you you're born to do that. That's pretty awesome.
It was just
Day you dream about.
a day you dream about.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely a day you dream
What
about.
have I been doing with my
So-
life?
From then I was like, I need a different gun. Immediately.
Yep.
So I got set up with a Browning BAR 308 carbine, and I put an aim point red dot on it.
I was going to ask about that. I see your pictures.
And-
You got a little bugger on there.
That is incredible. I carry binoculars too, but one of these days it's gonna burn me not having a scope. But I'm pretty good with the binoculars. You can grab them, but if they get wet, so far so good. So far so good. But the target acquisition is so much faster. That buck that I got this year in Maine, that really made all the difference in the world. If I had a scope, I'd have had a hard time like getting on him.
Yep.
I'd have a harder time getting on him. So. But
Definitely. The scope slows you down on those, especially the excellent killing days. I run a scope and it's just, you got a roll of paper towels and you're just, every few seconds you're rubbing, the water out of the scope. And
with that little red dot, it can be pouring out and you can see it just fine.
Just see it
you
just
don't,
good.
you don't
Yep.
shoot with one eye. You're not closing one eye. You're shooting both eyes open.
Yep.
So you're seeing the target. I'm right-handed with my left eye. And if you just see that red dot, man, you start squeezing.
wow.
And the BAR is maybe cheating. I don't know. I don't like a pump. I don't like a pump. It's not natural to me. A lever's not natural to me. So I was like, I'm gonna go with a semi-auto, and it's nice to be able to shoot 3 times quick.
Yeah.
I wish they'd make a blue red dot. Well, that's not really.
Is your colorblind?
Yeah,
you
'cause
can't
I've tried
see-
them.
you
and
can't
I
see it?
No.
Oh,
It's
man.
Screwed me turkey hunting before, and so I won't use one. But I'm like, I need a blue one. 'Cause
What
I can
about
see
green?
blue.
Can you see
No,
green? You can't see green?
Green's done too.
What about? So I saw a video today. I was thinking about you actually. There's glasses. Have you seen? You must know.
I've
about
tried
those.
them.
Does it work?
Everything turned blue.
Everything turned
Yeah,
blue.
but I guess
No
you
kidding.
can tweak them a little bit.
Yeah.
So next time I go to the eye doctor, they got a new formula they're going to try on me.
Right?
So
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
Yeah,
At
what
least
the
for
hell.
tracking. Like
Oh,
I hear
for
your
sure,
stories
for
about
sure.
tracking. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, that poor guy. You know?
for sure. For sure. So what year was it that this happened? So 18 was
so
your
2018
first year.
was my first year. 2019 was my next year hunting New Hampshire.
Okay.
And in 2019, I took a week off, Thanksgiving week. It's just the easiest week to like take off. Like
Yep.
a lot of people take that, whatever. So I took Thanksgiving week off, and you get what you get for weather, whether you're going to get snow or not. And there wasn't much. But we had enough to track on, and it was pretty crunchy in the morning. And so that day I started out, I'm going in along this river. I cut across the river, and then I cut his track. I cut this buck's track. And I'm aware, by the way, even the year 2018, I'm aware of a giant buck in this area because it was just tore up. And I wasn't the only one aware of it. There was other people that I met that were aware there's a real big buck in there. And I was actually showing a trail camera picture. Yep. So I was aware that I had seen something big in there. But
Just for the listeners, I mean, we're sitting here looking at a gigantic buck right above Jeremiah's head.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. So, hey, sorry to interrupt you. But
It's all good. It's all good. So when I cut his track, and I didn't really know it was his track. I mean, there are other mature bucks around, right? Mm-hmm. That's one of the things about tracking. But I cut his track, and went from the lowlands down in a swamp, in a long like river swamp, up into this hardwood where there was like 3 fingers, what I call like 3 fingers. And at the top of that was an old cut that must be 10, 15, 20 years old. I don't know, really old, way overgrown cut that they're not feeding in much anymore. Mm-hmm. And as I'm working along this, like going in from the right finger to the middle finger, and they're meandering and they're feeding, and there's a couple of beds, and it's fresh. I mean, I was like, they're right here. And I came up over the top, and it got to that point again where I just felt like I'm like so close to him, and I could like hear him get up. It was a crunchy snow, and I was grunting, right? So it thinks that I'm another deer or whatever. And I could hear him get up. I'm not 25 yards from him, but I'm down below him. So I can't see. All I saw was the wall of antlers. That's all I saw was a wall of antlers, and I ran as fast as I could, but they're kind of on the edge, on the top of this finger. Then it's all the whips from the cut. That's like you can't even see into it.
Yep.
But I wasn't paying attention. There was a doe with him, and I never saw the doe, but the doe went back to my right, back down the mountain, and she cut back behind me, behind my tracks, which I didn't know that. And I was beagle dogging it, looking for his track and looking, and if I had just stood right there after I jumped him and noticed that doe went down, he was not leaving her. He was not leaving that doe. Mm-hmm. And I went up in, not that far, but he circled right back around and came right back through there. And I saw him, but it was like, yep, way back to my right, and I'm right-handed, and to swing around, I didn't get a shot, and he was too far.
Yeah.
Too far. So I gave him a minute, and I got back on their tracks, and I did not go, they didn't go that far. I bet 400 or 500 yards, and I came up and over that other finger, and I looked, and the doe was up to my right at 75 yards, and he was standing up higher than her behind this wide open hardwood bowl. There's one hemlock tree, and isn't he standing right behind it? And I can't see him. And again, I've got that 7 mag with the scope. Okay, so this is
hadn't made the switch yet.
Oh, you hadn't made the switch. Oh,
well, that's another longer story. But so I'm like looking, trying to get a shot. I can't see him. And then as she went up to the right, and he took off to the left, and he's running down this other like ridge, and there's a little bit of a sag, and as he's took off, I took a Hail Mary shot. And he ran, and instantly, because he's out of sight, instantly I ran down that sag and back as fast as I could possibly running, and we met each other. We actually met each other. And I was like, I just grunt, I go, meh, and he stops. He stops at like 70 yards, something like that. It's pretty wide open, but there's a lot of winter beach down low. But he stops and turns around, and he's facing like quartered right at me. And I was like, crosshairs on it. Kapow! I thought it was over. And he just disappeared over the edge. And I never touched him.
Oh.
I missed. Oh. But so I tried to gather myself and like get back on the tracks. And sure enough, that he circled right back around, met up with the doe. And they brought me down to lower land where there was no snow.
Yeah. And
that was the end of the day.
It was over.
Yeah. But I walked away like thinking that's the best hunt I'd ever been on in my life. Damn, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And to like when I called my buddies and my brother, I was like, I just missed like 150-inch buck in New Hampshire, not that far from home.
Yep.
I can't believe a deer like that exists.
Yep.
I just can't believe a deer like that exists. So
that close to home.
That close to home. And I was just happy. I genuinely was like not upset, not mad at all. It was a great experience, a really cool experience. So then, if you want me to fast forward, 2 years later, last year, 2021, early muzzleloader season, and I'm back in that area because we all know that he's not killed. This buck is still alive unless he died from the winter.
Yeah. Now, did you get a bunch of cameras up in that area?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fact,
so let me back up real quick. So 2019, I had cameras in there.
Okay.
I had trail cameras in there. And I went and checked cameras, and in December, like around Christmas, there's no cell service. So I was like, just went back in and retrieved cameras, and I got a picture of this buck. That's near positive it's him.
Yeah.
Yep. You ask anybody I've ever asked, they're like 100% that's him. Yep. And I got 2 pictures of him in the same area, like within a mile of where I missed him. Mm-hmm. So 2020, I won't bore you with that story. Opening day, I killed a nice 8-pointer, same spot. Opening day, muzzleloader, first day, first 5 minutes.
Yep.
I called him in. Walked to a spot. I was just going to be scouting, grunted, and he came in. It was a good buck. I was like,
good 8 up.
It was hard. Yep. It's hard for me. It was a nice buck. Good, big body. It's like 190 something.
Yeah, you're not.
It was. Yeah. I was. He was. It was for here. I was like, okay, I took him. So I shot that deer, and I was bummed because I didn't get the track. Mm-hmm. That was Halloween. It was Halloween. So 2021, and I know that this guy is not dead yet. We all know that. But I go back into that area, and I'm preseason scouting, and the sign is not there. It's like either he's dead or he's moved on.
Yeah.
So I started fanning out, and I just kept. There's no snow on the ground. This is an early season muzzleloader, and there was a new piece I hadn't been on yet, and there's some good structure that I wanted to go check out, and it was first thing in the morning, and I hiked up in, and it was like a mixture of like hemlock and some hardwood, a little bit of oak, not a ton. And I got up in there in the dark, and I just was poking along, just still hunting. And I'd go 4 or 5 steps and just listen. You could hear a pin drop. I mean, a pin drop. It was one of those days where it was super quiet, right? The woods were super quiet, so you could hear. But I'd go 4 or 5 steps, and I could hear something from a long ways away. And I made it only on that top, just a couple, 200-300 yards. And at one point, I could see in this hemlock top, like 70, 80 yards maybe, and a deer cut through. And I was like, and I didn't get I was standing still, and it cut through. And I didn't spook it. It didn't look very big to me. Still, I don't know. So I was grunted a few times, tried to get it to come back, and never came back in, obviously. So I was like, I got to cut the distance. If that was a doe, I want to cut the distance. I cut the distance in half, and I sat there, and it rattled. Okay, I rattled, rattling sequence, grunted, and I waited. I gave it like 15 minutes. Didn't hear anything. So I said, all right. So I got up, and I walked over, and I found where that deer, I'm assuming it was a doe, I don't know. And I backtracked that deer like 50 to 100 yards. I was backtracking super slow. And it was like pretty steep with shelves. And as I'm walking over, I'm peeking over, and I see something that's white. It's kind of dark, in those hemlock.
Yeah.
And I see something white, and I'm like, but it wasn't wide open hemlock. There were other trees. And I'm like, that looks like an antler. And as I went to grab my muzzleloader, which has a scope on it, and I go to crank it to 9 power, and the whole rack turned. Right? And he was destroying a tree. He was destroying a limb, something. I mean, you could. He was. I think me rattling got him, because it was within 20 minutes of me rattling.
Yeah,
he was right there. He was tending a doe. So I didn't see the doe, but so anyways, and I see that, and it's like, this muzzleloader is way too thick, and it's probably 100 yards, and I'm like, I can't take that shot. So I'm aggressive. I grunted. I grunted at him, and he's like looking. He's looking. He starts coming, quartering towards me, and I'm like, perfect. There's 2 openings. There are 2 openings. Okay, I'm up on top, and there's a little bit of a knob here. I got 2 openings right out in front of me, and he's coming. I'm like, first opening. I go meh, to get him to stop, and he walks right through it and stops. And all I can see is his ass. And I'm like, I'm not taking that shot. I said, I'm not. I got another opening. I'm not taking that shot. He's not nervous at all. He's acting like the king of the woods. He's not nervous at all.
Did you know it was him at this point?
I just knew it was. I don't focus on the. I did not know.
Okay.
100% did not know.
Just knew how to get rack.
And it's like, I'm shooting that buck. So he gets into the second opening, and it's not like he's walking slow. He's going, and I go, meh, and stop him, and he walked right through it again, and all I can see is his rear end. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm not taking that shot. I'm not taking that shot. Just instantly, I was like, as soon as he moves, I'm moving. As soon as he moved, I went from like here to that deer towards him.
Wow.
To get to that other, so I could see
yards.
over and grunted with my mouth, and he stops again, wide open. Broadside, on the shoulder, pow, smoke, and it's dead quiet, and I hear crash, and I was like, did I just hit that deer? Did I just hit that deer? Right? So I'm like, now I'm shaking, and I'm like, because I was like, it was a huge rack. If I didn't get the deer, I would not have said, hey, I missed, it was that buck.
Yeah.
Because it was a long ways from where I missed, which I'll tell you that in a second. But I reloaded, and I didn't wait. I was like, either I got him or I didn't. I'm not going to get another shot at this deer.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't hit him. So I start walking down the bank, and a deer takes off, and I hear, and I was like, that sounded way too small. That couldn't be him. But as I'm walking, I can see his white belly piled right up. Hit him right in the shoulder, square in the shoulder.
Yep.
Just he went 20 yards and piled up.
No shit.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's a booner. That's what I thought. I was like, this is a booner.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was a Boone and Crockett buck.
Yep.
But I taped it myself multiple times, and it was just low 160, right around 160.
I mean, it does look like a booner. I mean, it really does.
But he's got short brows.
Okay.
The mass is incredible.
The mass that's the massiest deer I've ever seen in the Northeast, as far as like as far out as that goes. Like
when I was checking it in, the owner of the store, who's really cool, I had a moment with him too. Actually, it was pretty neat. Because I'd talk to him in the mornings, and I didn't know who his name was. I'm pretty bad with names anyway. And when we're weighing the deer, and he's high-fiving me, and he's like, "You did it, man!" He was real excited for me, right? And I was like, "I don't even know what your name is." And he's like, "It's Tony," which was my father-in-law's name. So I said, "I'll never forget that.
Yep.
I'll never forget that." But he said, Jeremiah, he goes, "I've been here. I've owned this store for 32, 33, 30-something years." He said, "It's the biggest buck he's ever reported, that he's ever seen." Jeez. That style. Right.
Yeah.
It's not as big as Gandalf, but it's.
Well, he looks like Gandalf on steroids. He really does. He's got a similar build to it.
The mass makes the tines
shorter. We got to compare weight points after.
That's a good
point. But so when you finally realized it was him when you're walking up, though,
when I walked up, I was like, "Oh my God, this is the buck that I missed in 2019." I got a trail camera photo. I got 2 photos of him, and I. Went back, look on Google Earth, and I measure it, and I was like, it was 4.01 miles from where I missed him in 2019 to where I got him in 2021.
I believe it.
Which is not unheard of.
No.
But it still is shocking.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I had a guy get a hold of me on Gandalf and claim that he was 12 miles away.
It wouldn't surprise me.
But he hasn't produced any pictures
to
send
prove
me
a picture. Send me a picture to prove it. Right?
So... But no, that's just incredible. How much did he weigh in at?
238.
Wow.
238.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And that's late October, right?
Late. It was the first week of November.
November.
I think it was towards the end of muzzleloader.
Just the complete package.
I think it was November 8th. I think it was November 8th. I'm pretty sure. November 8th.
The complete package as a deer. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
I've killed bucks bigger scoring in Canada, but to me, that's the best buck I've ever. It's the best buck I've ever shot.
Absolutely,
for sure.
What is the mass measurement between like the G2 and the G3?
It's close to 7 inches. It's close to 7 inches. I wish I could remember that. I was looking for the sheet, the score sheet. We could measure it, but it's. Yeah,
his mom had bred with a moose somewhere down the line.
Right, I think.
Literally, moose paddled right out.
Wow,
absolutely crazy.
If I never got another one, I'd be happy.
Yeah. Jeez, how was getting him out of the woods? Bare ground? You
bare ground.
Come in, or were you in way far? Or?
I got him out by myself.
Yeah.
Dragged him out by myself.
Yep.
That's impressive. 238.
238. But the key to me is a jet sled.
Yep.
Jet sled. So I drug him on the other side, which is a part of there's like no hair on the back side.
Okay, gotcha.
On the other side of the shoulder. I drug him on the bare ground through stone ledges and stuff to get him down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that burned off a lot of his hair. And then I got him in a jet sled for like the last 3/4 of a mile. Mm-hmm. And that's, to me, you get on get one of these old road trails, and it's not, put a big thick rope on it and just you're pulling with your legs.
Yep.
Man.
Yep.
It's all the difference in the world.
Yep. And
Plus, my adrenaline was pumping pretty good.
Yeah, so. look at that. Every time you turn around and see that, you're probably going pretty good.
I was too. I was smiling from ear to ear.
So that was 21, right?
21.
So you didn't think, I mean, then you back it up with the year you had this year.
This year was incredible. A great year, man. It was a great year. Yeah.
$4 or $5?
$4, 2 does.
Yeah.
2 does.
I got 2 with a, because I like to eat. My wife and kids, we eat venison.
Yep.
I try to aim to get 3 or 4 deer a year.
Yeah.
I don't care what they are. I just want, we want to eat them.
Definitely.
So
definitely.
I got a couple does with a stick and string and, cheating crossbow.
It's okay.
But one of them, which was cool, the second one, I was going to my tree stand. I won't bore you with this story, but I got to sneak up on one. Shot him, crossbow, 52 yards offhand with a crossbow in the open hardwood.
And that's something. That's awesome.
That's
I was like, yes, I got to still hunt one. So yeah, 5 out of the 6 deer I got on my feet. The first doe I got with in a tree stand. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So the Maine buck, was that a tracking buck this year?
Maine was an incredible hunt. Yep. So that was Maine. I went up there. Thanksgiving week at 3 days because I was going to come back for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And I wasn't going to go back up. I said 3 days. I'm just going to go up for 3 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. First day, Monday, this is only my second year hunting Maine. So I went previously in 2021, didn't shoot a buck, saw some, but I found a huge clown track that I was telling you guys about earlier. Biggest track I've ever seen. And it brought me to the Canadian border. And it crossed the Canadian border and then brought me to no snow after it came back across. But I was like, thought about that for an entire year. So first day, I went right back there. I went right back to that same area, and I climbed up this tall mountain, and there was quite a bit of snow. I mean, at times it was shin deep where I was that week. It was beautiful snow. And there was no deer. Deer were non-existent. I was like all kinds of deer last year. This year, no deer. There were no deer where I was last year. I didn't see any tracks, and that snow was days old. So I pulled the pin midday, climbed back down the mountain, hopped in my truck, looking at a map, and I'm like, okay, they're not up high. I'm going low. Found some swamps, and there were 2 particular swamps with it just looked great on a map. 2 swamps with like a crossing
nice
in between them, a wicked funnel.
Yep.
And it was a lot of green growth there. So there was a couple of good logging roads through there. So I was driving those logging roads as soon as this is low elevation. As soon as I'm driving on those roads, nobody else had driven on this particular road, which that's a bonus, right? Yep. Mine with the first set of tracks. Fresh tracks were everywhere. These deer, I think I counted almost 20 sets of tracks that cut across these 2 roads. It went out wide, split. Yeah. And I bet it was like 20 sets of tracks. And it was days old snow. I don't know how old, right? Because I hadn't been there when it snowed, so I didn't really know. But some of them were looking pretty fresh. And I picked the freshest buck track that I could find, and it just brought me in a big circle, almost back to the truck that day. So I was like, okay. So I think I left at like half an hour before dark or something like that. I still had time, but I was like, I'm going to go back to my room, rest up, and I'm going to come right back here in the morning because they're getting a little bit of snow. So I came back in the morning, and we'd gotten like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch of snow. Perfect, right? And I drove up that first road to look for this funnel in between the 2 swamps, and there's a big buck track that cut through, but it's full of snow. I don't mean full of snow, but it was like the track was made in the night before it snowed, or around when it snowed. And then I kept going, and I cut another buck track that was smoking fresh. That was with a doe. But I was like, I'm like, this is in the dark, half hour before daylight. I'm like, that first track was a better track. I got all day. I'm taking that one. It looked like a cross country skier, man. He was dragging his feet, super wide, stagger, long stride. I was like, one of those ones that gets you
everything you want.
Everything you want, right? So I waited till daylight, hopped out of my truck, and now I've got that Browning BAR with the aim point on it. And I started getting on the track, and it was meandering. He was making scrapes, he was making rubs, and the track wasn't getting fresher. And then I got to a spot where I was like, he's bedded right. I know he's bedded right there. I'm like, but it was too late. I just popped out of a swamp with like alders and stuff, and you could tell where he was going. I'm like, he's bedded right. He can see me. If he's bedded right there, sure enough, I get up there, he's bedded right there. But I didn't jump him. He bedded there in the night. He had bedded in the night and got up, made a rub, tore up a tree right after his bed, and I was like, good, I didn't jump him. Awesome. So it's one of those things. He made up a bunch of time, and it was like a little bit of luck, right? Because he'd already gotten up. So the track was getting fresher and fresher. And I probably went like another mile-ish, and he was meandering. He'd gotten with a doe, and he was making a bunch more scrapes along the way. And I was like, oh my God, I just got to be getting close. And it was going through these sections in this lower land. Most of the area that you were going through was like horrible tracking. You can't see. You can't see 30 yards. It's so thick. Yeah. But there was, I don't know what they call it, with like a selective cut through like the, spruce trees where they're...
Yeah. Just little lanes and stuff?
There are lanes, the strip cutting, whatever you want to call that. And it was fairly open. And you could see at times, 60, 70. I was like, man, what a place to catch him. Of course I didn't, right? Didn't catch him in there. But he had spent a lot of time making scrapes and then checking does in there. And I was able to stay on his track because of that snow. because of the fresher snow that we got. And so anyway, it gets to a point where I had looked at a map and I'm like, there's one little block of wide open hardwoods and there's a little knob and it's green growth on that knob. And he's heading right for that. I'm like, they're right there.
Yep.
I bet they're right there. He's with a doe. I bet they're right there. And I'm creeping up and it's not super quiet snow, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not like that 2018 snow my first time tracking, which was soft. And I'm creeping up. I'm getting really close and I see the doe go. And the doe takes off and she goes right out into the wide open hardwoods.
Oh, perfect.
Let's go.
And I was like, I had my grunt tube. I keep it stuffed in my jacket. So I was blowing on my grunt tube, like loud, blowing on it. And he just comes running out. And I was like 40 yards right on him with the red dot. Pow! And I hit him. I could tell that it stunned him. And he starts running back, or he's running straight away from me. And I can see 100 yards plus. And I was second shot, right? Texas heart shot, pow! And I can see that I hit him.
Yeah.
And the third shot, when I shot, I could see the snow hit over the top of him. So I know I missed with the third one. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, I know I hit him with one of those. I had to have. And I go up the first shot, and it's hair all over the place, and a little bit of blood. And I was like, okay, I hit him. And then I'm like, but I'm making a mistake. I'm beagle dogging. I should be looking ahead, because he went that 200 yards, 150, 200 yards or whatever, and he bedded down. I didn't know that. He's looking back at me. Yep. But I'm beagle dogging it, looking for blood. So I'm going to the second shot, the third shot, and all that time, I'm sure I bumped him.
Yep.
Right. So he was bedded down right there at like 150, 200 yards from my first shot. And I get over there, and I was like, if he bedded within 150 yards, he's hurt. And he button hooked left, and he went right into a swamp. Not swamp, but it's like swampy old cut where there's like little Christmas trees, I call them, that are 6-8 feet tall, and they're full of snow. And I started jogging on the tracks. I was like moving fast. I'm like, I'm not giving him a break. He's hurt. I hit him twice. He's hurt. And I'm jogging through there, and I'm going through, and then I can see him. I mean, he's less than 10 yards, and he snorted at me, and I took like not a great shot. Not anywhere near him. Not anywhere near him. But I just ran as fast as I could. It was the coolest thing, because I'm running and I can see the snow like falling off the limbs.
Oh, wow.
Where he's going right in front of me. The snow is falling down, and I shot him 2 times, less than 10 yards both times.
Wow.
To finally put him down. And I was pretty happy.
That's awesome.
It was such a cool hunt, It was really cool how that ended up working out. But
wow,
close quarter combat at the end.
Close quarter combat is what it was. Yeah. I ended up shooting quite a few times, because I had a couple more when he was on the ground. He was still breathing.
It takes,
and I don't like to let him suffer, so I shot.
Absolutely.
I shoot again. Shot him again to get him in the. Make sure I put one in the lungs.
Yeah.
I mean, the first shot was in the shoulder, but it just blew up the bullet.
So just hit that shoulder. And
I think so. Yeah, it was all bone chips. All in that shoulder was just.
Well, it's good that you kept shooting, because some people won't keep shooting, and then that first shot, he would have gone miles with that.
Possibly, possibly could have gone miles. Yep. So,
did that second shot hit him?
Second shot hit him. Yeah. I had quite a few holes in him.
Second shot probably really crippled him up.
There was 5 or 6 holes in him.
Yeah.
The third shot, I definitely missed him.
Yeah.
I could see it, and as I was shooting, I see the snow hit above him.
Yeah.
But
how bad of a drag was that one?
Because there's so many roads in Maine.
Yeah.
And I was like in this lowland where they'd done a lot of cutting.
Yep.
Look at a map, and it was less than a half a mile.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
I had to go a couple miles back to my truck, and then less than a half a mile.
Isn't that the best walk back to your truck, too? You're just like, hey, I'm tagged out. I'm just going to take a nice nature walk.
I come out to the road, and a guy and his son are out there. He's like, did you get him? I'm like, yep. He's like, are you serious? And they wanted to help. And I was like, his young son.
Yep.
So they came in with me and helped me drag it out. It was real nice.
That's awesome.
It was real nice of them. Yeah.
They won't forget that.
Guys
There's
from
some
Maine.
good folks in Maine.
I was like, this is a 200. I thought it was bigger.
Yeah.
I would have even at the weigh station, they're like, that's 240 all day long. But he's short. Everybody's like, but he's really short. Huge neck on him.
Yep.
But
just thicker than hell.
200 pounds, right on the money.
Right on the money.
On the dot. Yeah.
That is incredible.
On the dot. So
that was Thanksgiving week.
That was Thanksgiving week, Tuesday.
You ended up running some does around and stuff.
Yeah, but he was so short.
Yeah.
You look at him, he looked like he's like me. He was like a foot short, So
Jeez, that's cool when you see it go to 200 though, because I've had him
Oh, yeah.
195, and then you're like,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know why it matters so much to us northeastern people, but it just does.
So like Canada, I haven't weighed most of these deer.
Yep.
That one was probably the second biggest one I shot. That 10-pointer was the biggest one. I never weighed him.
Yeah.
He was huge. I mean, that deer,
The wall with it right there.
the one on the far right, that one was huge.
Could have been 300 pounds.
I don't know about maybe, but this one we weighed him whole with the guts in him, and his ass was still touching the ground. It was 320 pounds. We were curious, because he looked big. 320 with the guts still in them, mind you, and he's still touching the ground. And the rope got caught in the block and tack, and it cut it. And that deer fell so hard and hit its antlers on the ground. Ooh. I said, I don't care what it weighs. I'm not putting them back up.
That's it.
280 anyway.
I don't know. It was a big animal. Wow. That was a big animal.
Those Canadian deer are just crazy.
They're different. That's a different breed though. That doesn't. Yeah.
They all get those like stickers and stuff. A lot of them seem like
they really
those
do.
Crazy stickers. It's so cool. So much character.
Like the crown, right?
Yeah. And you said that one scored what? The Canadian deer?
It officially scored 177 in 4/8. Yeah. I think was the final score. Yeah. 177.
And that's with all the stickers and everything else going on.
But again, like short tines, he just doesn't have. If he had tine length.
Yeah.
But that's kind of common up there. They don't have like super long
compact
tines.
Yeah, that deer all day looks bigger than
if you put that Canadian deer, which scores 20 inches more of antler than this one,
it's hard to believe.
I would shoot this one.
Oh, absolutely.
every time.
Every time.
Yeah. It's just Tim Baldessaro, that taxidermist we were talking about earlier. He used to always say that they should, instead of like Boone and Crockett scoring, they should have like displacement. Put the antlers in something and displace. A fluid or something
for just purely
growth pure growth.
Yep,
for pure growth.
How much did that rack just weigh alone?
It was pretty heavy. I should have
the weight of that.
I should have.
It's gonna be one of the heavier racks. That's just crazy.
In a weird way, I wish I'd just had just the antlers to be able to handle them.
Yeah, for sure.
There's something about that. Something about being able to handle them.
Yeah, that's a good mount too.
Yeah,
that's definitely
Pete LaJoy. Man, he does a great job.
Yeah,
he does a fantastic job.
For sure.
So you get the Maine buck.
Yeah, got the Maine buck.
And then
I shot a little one in New Hampshire.
You got the buck in New Hampshire, yeah. And then you decide, hey, I got a little time. Let's go to Mass, right?
I had planned on going to Mass. It was like I wanted to hunt Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Mass.
Yep.
And I spent very little time in Vermont outside of bow hunting.
Yep.
But Mass, I went down with a friend of mine. We ended up hunting 4 days.
Shotgun, right?
Shotgun. It was the second week of shotgun. There was no snow. And we went to different area. This is my third year going to Mass. And we went to different chunks of woods than I've ever been, which is part of the fun.
Oh, yeah.
To go explore. So I had 2 spots in mind, and I put my buddy Phil on one of them. He went one way, and I went the other way. And where I went was I went high. I went to the tops of these mountains. It was green growth, hemlocks, shelves, steep, and I'd spent the entire day scouting around, and I found some good buck sign, but we were in contact all day long. I was like, everything's old. All the sign is really old. Like I would have said it wasn't. It was weeks old. And long story short, it was 3:00 in the afternoon. I hadn't seen a deer yet. I hadn't jumped a deer. Yep. I was not in deer at all. And I just kept working around, spending a lot of time going up, just kept going up and up and up. And then I got to this spot where this is where I wanted to get to.
Yep.
Sure enough, I get up there and there's a lot of that, what's that, mountain laurel?
Yep.
That's what they were feeding on. It was the mountain laurel up there. And I finally found fresh, I found deer shit everywhere. But they was all dried out. Everything was old. I was like, the deer are not here. They're somewhere else. And he was seeing all kinds of deer. My buddy was. So I finally found some fresh shit. And I was like, there's deer up here. So same thing like when I shot this guy in New Hampshire. I was stopping and calling in spots, calling and waiting a few minutes, grunting, not rattling, grunting, waiting a few minutes. And I just was poking along, and I got to this other spot, and I grunted before I had to walk another 10 yards where I could see down. I grunted a few times, and then I was poking my way over there, and I'm looking, and I could see the ass end of a deer. And I was like, there's deer. It just stood up in its bed. Didn't know, couldn't see me. I couldn't see its head. It couldn't see me. So it worked out. and I was like trying to like look. So I sidestepped, right leg over left in this awkward position. And with my eyes, I could see a beam sticking out by its ear. I'm like, it's a buck. It's beyond its ears.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good buck. So now he like turns his head so he can almost can see me, and now I can't move. Now I'm like, oh man. So I'm just in this weird position, shotgun, right? Which I have a Savage, Savage 220, which is shoots great, but it's basically a muzzleloader.
Yep.
It jams.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
Almost every time for the second shot. All I can see is this midsection back, and I just tucked it over as far as I could, and pow, and he took off, and I could see, rack as he took off, but I didn't think it was huge, but I was like, it's a good buck, and I texted my buddy. I was like, I just shot one. I said, it's a pretty good buck, pretty good one. I said, I don't know if I hit it or not. I'm gonna go down. So I go down, a huge pile of white hair in the bed. I'm like, did I just skin his belly?
No.
I'm like, did I just skin his belly? So I don't even know if you want me to tell this. I almost feel bad about it. But I went like 20 yards beyond it, and I still didn't see any blood or anything. And I knelt down, and he called me. So I'm like talking to him, and I'm like, well, I can smell the deer. I can smell it. I'm like, what the? That's weird. And I could see quite a ways. There's no deer. I look down. It's all guts.
Oh.
I mean, a lot of guts, like a half a gallon of guts within 20 yards.
Yep.
I'm like, well, he's not going to live.
No.
But it's dry ground. Now you got to track him, right? But thankfully, there were no other deer up there, honestly, because I was able to track him in the leaves, which was incredible.
Oh, yeah.
So I went like 200-300 yards, and there were spots of blood. Don't get me wrong. 200-300 yards, and I found a section of intestine. And then another 100 yards and another section of intestine. And then another X amount of yards. And I could see where it dragged like up over a white birch log. And his entire stomach came out of him.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yep.
The entire stomach.
Yeah.
Everything came out of him. And after that, that's like it cut an artery.
And then he started
And then he
bleeding.
bled out big time after that. He was probably 50 yards from there.
Yep.
But I was like, awesome buck. But I marked where I shot him, and I marked where I was. Straight line was 670 yards.
Holy cow.
He went a ways.
Wow.
But it opened up a hole. So I hit in the midsection, hit a rib, and it came out right out the bottom, right out his stomach.
Okay.
Yep.
And it made I bet it was a 5-inch hole.
Yep.
It made a huge hole.
It ain't always perfect.
It's not always pretty, man. No, it ain't always pretty, but I was pretty happy.
So
I was
Not
pretty
to sound
happy.
like a meanie, but you just kind of grab the horns and start dragging. You don't even have to gut him.
My buddy came up. He drug it out for me.
Yep.
Yeah, good man. I hurt my back a little bit. I tweaked it.
Oh, okay.
I've been dealing with some lower back this year, so I'm pretty thankful he was there, because I would have left it overnight.
Yep.
I would have left it, and it was going to pour the next day.
Yeah.
That's half the reason why, some people would be like, well, don't, it's a gut shot, don't go after it.
Yeah.
It was supposed to torrential downpour.
You got to make that call.
So
you
have to make that call.
Yep.
So.
And with all that scent around there, the coyotes would have been right on him. So.
Yep.
But no, that's incredible.
I want to circle back. So you're
Sure.
New Hampshire buck, even though it wasn't the biggest buck, but it's still a tracking story.
I tracked him.
Yeah, I'm sorry
Not
about
that
I'm
deer.
sorry.
No, it's all good.
Good.
That's the first deer that I shot. Was the New Hampshire one. Was rifle hunting
on snow. So tracking.
There was a little bit of snow.
Yep.
We had like an inch of snow, and it was raining, so it was perfect. And I had a buck in mind that was. He's big bodied deer, but he didn't have much for antlers.
Yep.
But I'd have been tickled with him.
Yeah.
And I was looking for his track. I have all kinds of pictures of him.
Yep.
And I figured out like the area that he was in. So I went all in there and I cut a buck track. Didn't think it was him. Then another one, didn't think it was him. And then I got on another buck. So I think it was the third buck track that I get on. And I was with him for a couple hours maybe, tracking him, and get up on top of not on top of the mountain, but up high. But again, this year, I don't know about you guys, but high elevation, there was no deer sign.
No,
absolutely.
All the deer were down low.
It was.
And I don't want to be low, but the deer were down low. So that's what got me in Maine to be like, same deal here.
Yep.
It's such a dry summer.
Yep.
There's no acorns. There's no beech nuts. There's no mass crop. They're down low. They're down by the swamps, and they're down eating grass. And and where there's a little bit of greenery, right? Mm-hmm. So, but this one went up high, so I brought him up high, and I'm tracking. I get into this spot where it's a saddle, and there's a couple of swamps like in between them. This buck I'm tracking is like meandering. He's feeding. I'm like, it's gonna be right here. It's gonna be right here. So I come around and I look at like 50 yards, and I see a deer bedded, and it's facing away from me. There's a deer, and I just look. I don't have magnification, no scope, so I have binoculars, but it's pouring out. So I look, and I can see, I see antlers, and I shot. Thing gets up and actually missed him while it was bedded. I hit brush, and when it was running at a full run, I hit him right in the right center of the neck on a dead run. Rolled him. But I get over to him, and I was so confused. I was like, "This is not the deer I was tracking. This is a much smaller deer. It's a young deer. It's a 2.5-year-old." And so I'm like standing over the deer, and some kid yells out. He's like, "Did you get him?" And I was like really confused. I'm like, I'd never seen anybody up there, first of all. And this other younger, I call him a kid. He's in his 20s, but he'd been tracking that deer. He'd missed it once or twice. He'd missed it and saw it 3 times. He said that day. But Jesus. I was like, "Sorry, man."
Scared the hell out of you, I bet.
It did. It definitely. Yeah.
I was like, that.
I was like, "What?" He's like, "Did you get him?" I'm like, "What?" That drag was 3 miles.
Wow.
Just under 3 miles to get back to my truck. It was 4 miles back to my truck, and then I drove to get within 3 miles, and then hiked up in with a jet sled and pulled him out. But
thank God he wasn't.
He was
very
the size
big,
he was. Man.
Yeah.
He was. He wasn't
still a nice buck. Though.
I'm a meat
But after
hunter.
everything else you did this year, it was like he takes the lower spot. Yeah,
that's why he goes to tracking. Like it happens all the time to guys. You're tracking a buck, and then another one comes along, or it happens to be bedded right there. I mean, they're going to scrape you off on other deer sometimes.
I'm surprised it doesn't happen more, especially with like the renowned guys like that. They don't say, "I messed up and got a small buck," because it seems like it could happen.
I'm sure it does. So. Yeah, I'm sure it does. But I was happy, man.
Yeah,
I wasn't disappointed at
adventure.
all. I was confused, but I was happy, man. Yeah, because again, we like to eat them. Yep. So
any buck out there in the White Mountains is a good buck. But
Did you tell that kid now get on this track and go?
But New Hampshire is one of my favorite places to go.
It's
partially because it's so close. Right.
There's just so much food in the woods too that I love hunting around food. Like bow season, I love hunting apple trees. It's like you just feel like you're in the game more if you're around food, So it's just cool. But, so we got to hear about the last buck though, because we've heard about the
mass number 2 muzzleloader. 2 days before Christmas. Right, the day before Christmas, the storm's coming. 24th. So that Thursday before Christmas, I told my wife, I was like, I'm going down there for one day. I said it's like good conditions. It's gonna get warm, gonna soften up a little bit. So I'm gonna go down for a day. So I got up at 2:30, made a cup of coffee, got dressed, drove down there. I drove beyond like deeper snow, because a lot of people are like, it's like knee deep snow or deeper. And I had just looked at the snow depth forecast and found a spot that had which is right where we were hunting, actually, where we originally were. And it was only 6 inches of snow. It was perfect. But it was like, a week old snow. And I parked, got out in the woods, and I went about a mile before I was even going to start where I wanted to get to. And I jumped a doe and a fawn right off the bat. Within that mile, I jumped a doe and a fawn. And then I got right to the spot where I wanted to get to. Right, it was up on top of this knob, like steep hemlock, super steep, on the edge of oak, which I didn't think there was any acorns. I never saw them digging for acorns, even when we were originally there. I didn't see any, but on dry ground, because I had been to this spot the last day we hunted, those 4 days. Anyways, I could smell a buck. You could smell him with his beds. You guys must. It was rank. I'm like. All right, there's the bed. I found 3 beds where he was bedded. It was a nice big bed. I said, okay, which one's the freshest one? So I found the freshest one. I'm like, I think it's today.
Yeah.
I think it's today. But again, not positive, right? I'm still fairly new to this.
Yeah.
So I take that track, and I went a couple hundred yards, and I spotted a doe and a fawn. saw them. So I'd seen 4 deer at that point. And then I get to another bed, and now it's really fresh, right? Because it's a little it's crunchy. It's not quiet at all. It's crunchy, crusty, especially when you're in the green, in the hemlock. It was even crunchier in that green than it was if you were out in the hardwoods. Hardwoods was way softer.
Yeah.
And I didn't go 30 yards from that bed, and it dropped straight off like a 20-foot ledge right there. But he had gone around, and I went over towards the ledge, and he could hear me. I hear him take off, and I look, and I could see. I'm not 100% positive in my mind, but I thought it was a good buck. But he was jumping through stuff. He was jumping through the green growth, lower stuff. And it was a ravine, so it came up the other side, and it was wide open, and that ravine was wide open. So you could see the other side. And I was grunting with my voice to try to get him to stop. And he stops on the other side. It's probably 150 plus. And he's standing there, and I'm like, not bracing on anything, but I'm just like looking at him. Crank it to 9 power. I watched him for a minute or two. Nice 10-pointer. Almost identical to the first 10 that I shot.
Yeah.
Almost identical. And I was like, it's too thick. You're shooting through tops of hardwood trees, like so many of them. So I said, I'm just going to give him a half hour. Just give him a half hour. And I watched him over the course of like a few minutes work his way. And I waited half an hour, went down, got on his track, and I couldn't follow it 100 yards. There were so many tracks.
Yep.
It was a barnyard.
Wow.
Like what you hear the trackers talking about, like a barnyard.
Yeah.
So I'm making a circle. And the bigger the circle I went, the more deer tracks there were. There were so many deer tracks. About the third big circle I made, I spotted a deer. And I was like, there he is. Nope. A doe. And then I dropped my gun, and I'm looking around. There's another doe even closer, 50, 60 yards. And then a buck was with him. Small buck, little rack buck. And I was like, kept looking around, then another doe, then another doe. There was 5 together, one buck with 4 does. Mm-hmm. And I watched them for a few minutes, and eventually I was like, I'm not shooting that buck, so I bumped him.
Yeah.
And I left that track. I could not stay with that track. There were so many tracks.
Yep.
I'd never seen.
Just hit a major pocket of them.
They were living. They were
there.
loaded. There were so many deer. Mm-hmm. So at that point, that's 10 deer that I'd seen. So I'm like, all right, I want to go. I'm climbing back up to this other one because this was taking me down. So I climbed back up, and there was a hemlock ridge that I up on top with a steep. I mean, super steep. You guys have seen some of that. Definitely steep ledgy areas with some shelves.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'm gonna get up to that. So as I jump another doe, saw that one, 40, 50 yards, standing still, which was kind of cool. And then I found the buck track. I was like, oh, here we go. This is a good one. This is like 12-inch, 11, 12-inch wide.
Yeah.
Dragging its feet, smoking fresh track. Because now we're talking like middle of the day. It's probably noonish.
Yeah.
And I get on that track. It's going right where I want to go. Goes right up that steep. I mean, it went. I didn't jump it at all. It was not. It was just walking, but went straight up, not like meandering. It went straight up. So I was like, it's going up there in bed.
Yep.
It's probably seeing me, but I'm going to take the track and get up to the top, and it button hooks right. I really wanted to go left. I'm like, well, it's going kind of back to where I came from, and I followed that deer for less than a half a mile, get 30 yards from him, and I was like, there he is. Pull up, standing there, no antlers.
Oh, God.
I think it was, I would have bet money that was a buck.
Yeah.
And just it dropped its antlers, right?
I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had no antlers.
Yep.
Yep.
Right? I texted my buddy, and he's like, dude, shoot. I'm like, it's got no antlers, man. So I left it. I was like, oh, well. So I left that deer. So now it was 12 deer I'd seen at that point. And I kept texting him that like joke because I was having fun.
Yeah.
I was just enjoying the day.
Yeah.
Right? I was just enjoying the day. He's like, stop counting, shoot one. Right? So I went back left. I came all the way on my backtrack back to where I climbed up, and then I followed that spine, and there were nothing fresh. Beds everywhere, tracks all over the place, nothing fresh. But I get to the other side, and it was opened up into hardwoods with those like winter beech, fresh bed. Pretty good sized bed.
Yep.
Smell it, hawks. Yep, it's a buck. Okay, perfect. It's fresh. It's going away from where I want to go. I'm like, but there's lead, a bunch of shelves. I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go look. It's fresh. Just a few minutes I was on that track. peek down over, and he's bedded right there.
Oh, wow.
50 yards. Licking himself, no idea that I'm there.
Yep.
No clue. So, and you're shooting through that winter beach. I'm like, it's too thick. So I crouched down and I crawled over like 10, 15 feet, a little bit to the left and towards him, crept back up and grabbed a sapling. I'm like, that's wide open. And he's still licking himself. And he's like looking in my direction, but he's licking himself.
Yep.
I just waited for him to stop licking himself. Turned his head and
Jeez.
rolled
That's
him.
awesome.
Rolled him. But I had to shoot him again. I had to shoot that one.
Yeah.
I got the second shot on my cell phone. I was
yeah.
holding it. I reloaded, grabbed my phone, put it on camera, and I don't even know how I was doing it, but I was holding it, and I got the shot on.
What
Just
just incredible year.
that was
God.
cool, man.
8-point, right? That one
Eight.
was?
That was an 8-point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dark cracked 8.
Dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He must have been, is he rubbing just a bunch of softwoods?
Must have been,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
super dark. I've never seen
Yeah.
him that dark. Almost black at the bases.
Yep.
But,
So what you're saying is you're going back to Mass again next year.
I liked it there, man. I went 3 years ago
Yeah.
with friends of mine, and it was dry ground. I missed one.
Yep.
And last year I shot one last year too in Mass.
It's a good way to like wrap the
In-
season
in
up
the-
because usually there's
Yeah.
some snow by then, and
Right.
it's you got a fighting chance down there because there's a good deer population.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I tell people, right? It's great because like you're hunting Vermont, which is tough.
Yep.
And then you go to New Hampshire, which is even less deer density. And then I've tried Maine a couple times, and that to me seemed like even less deer density.
Oh yeah,
And then you get to end it in Mass where there's a bunch of deer.
yeah.
for sure.
So-
For sure.
Yeah, they got a wicked population down there.
Yeah.
Seems like they're
Some-
doing real good.
And good animals,
Oh,
man.
wicked bucks
You
down
see
there.
some of the ones they shot.
Oh, yeah. Some 190s and stuff down there this year.
Yeah, for
I-
sure.
Where I parked, a guy pulled in. He had New York plates, and he was like bummed that I was there when I shot that second one. But in the morning, in the dark, and he was like, "Oh, are you gonna hunt here?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." I said, "Hey, it's public land, so you go anywhere you want, man."
Yeah.
Right? I said, "I don't own it, and I park right here, man." I said, "If we bump into each other, we bump into each other." So, and then he was all, "Are you sure? I don't want to mess you up." I'm like, "Man, we're both here for the same thing."
Exactly.
So good luck to you.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But he told me that they had killed a 180-inch buck right there the week before.
No kidding.
A 180.
That's a good chunk of
I
woods
was like,
there.
I'm like, I believe it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yep.
So you had said something before we started recording about how you used to be primarily a stand hunter.
That's all I've ever
And
done.
I haven't heard one stand story yet. So like you're converted now, right?
I'm like a convert. Yeah. Well, it started out like I'm just gonna try something new,
Yeah.
right? And then like the last few years, I'm like I'm gonna challenge myself.
Yeah.
And try this because I think it's harder.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's more. I don't know if that's the right word. Harder. It's just they're different set of challenges, right? For me, it's more difficult. For my own personal self, I think it's more difficult, and that's part of the challenge.
Yeah.
Right. Which we all like to challenge
Oh
ourselves.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's part of it. So,
sure.
tree. Not saying I'll never tree stand hunt again
Yeah.
because I will. I'll sit. I'll probably do less like what I did this year in New Hampshire. I've spent a lot of time walking around on the dry ground early season, and it seems unproductive.
It does.
It hurts the
sort
soul,
of
doesn't
does.
it, after a couple weeks of crunching around?
Even the first day in New Hampshire, I missed a big one
Oh, did you?
walking. I was
Just cruising around?
cruising around.
Oof.
Oh, it was a big muzzleloader. That was a good one. Somebody ended up shooting it. I have pictures of it, and it was
Really?
210 pounds. 210. It was a 7-pointer, but it was nice. It was missing a brow tine, but
Yeah.
it was big, pretty big. For
Yeah.
good deer, a good
Yeah.
buck, big body one. But I missed him. It was just too far, a little thick. I'm like, if you don't shoot, you don't get him.
Yeah.
So took a shot. I was crunching down off the mountain, coming down off. It was just for a half hour before dark, and I just look over and I'm like, that's a deer. And even with you could just tell by the blockiness. I'm like, that's a buck. And I was like, crank my scope to 9-pounder. I'm like, it's outside its ears. Yep, it's
Yeah.
nice beams.
Wow.
I'm shooting that one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try anyway.
For sure.
I watched him for a while before I shot because he saw me.
Yeah.
He was, or you could hear me for sure. It was like walking on, cornflakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have a state that's like your favorite to hunt? Is it New Hampshire?
New Hampshire right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Just like the way it sets up.
I like the way it sets. It's close to home too.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
You're not too far from the border here.
For me, hunting around here, there's not that I'm not just a trophy hunter. I am absolutely not just a trophy hunter.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that they're out there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And where I live right here, they're few and far between.
Yeah.
This
is a good place to get some deer meat.
That's what I do food plots for bow hunting and I mean I even rifle hunted twice. I passed up a buck twice.
Yep.
The 2 times I hunted here during rifle, it was half a 4-pointer busted off.
Yeah.
And the other one was a pretty good 5, maybe 6-pointer. He had broken brow.
Yep.
And I was full. I didn't need another deer at that point. So I was like, if I was hungry, I told that 5-pointer, I said that to him. I said, man, if I was hungry. But I'm not. Sure. I'm not right now. Yep. So.
Oh, that's incredible. So are you going forward, are you going to do more Canada, or are you going to stick with the plan you did this year?
I'm going to probably stick with what I was doing this year.
Yep.
I think so.
I think you got it pretty much nailed down this year.
Chasing the snow.
Don't change a thing.
Chasing the snow, but chasing the snow, right?
Yeah.
That's I just like being on the snow. Who doesn't, right? Yeah. Any of you guys that we're talking
definitely,
the snow,
definitely.
The snow is the equalizer, and you learn so much. That is, if I could tell somebody that's never done it, I've learned so much from following them.
Yeah,
it's incredible, isn't it? Just
really
the stuff
is.
They take you through and show you things you've never seen before.
Yeah, paying attention to the details that they'll teach you a lot. Teach you a lot.
Just hunting with him in Maine this year, where he pretty much walks all day, and I did a lot of sitting up there.
Yeah.
And the stuff you met, like there wasn't a deer in the zip code where I was sitting, and by walking with him, I'm like, yeah, you got to do this. You could sit here till you're blue in the face and never see a deer. So it's pretty. You're always in the game. You're always you're not bored.
Right.
So it's.
Right.
It's pretty nice.
But the stand hunting is effective too, man.
It is if you can get in the right area. So it's good. You got a really deadly hunter that can do both. It's like that's where you're really getting good at it. But
we would sit daylight till dark in Canada. That's what we get out in the dark and leave in the dark.
Yep.
You just like sitting in cuts and stuff up there, like swale bogs, or is it kind of mix everything?
I started out like my biggest one came from an old cut.
Gotcha.
That's when we first went up. That was 2005 when I shot that one. But a lot of people hunt the cuts, right? So I won't say necessarily a lot, but people hunt the cuts.
Yep.
And I just want to get away from people. I try to get away from people. So I started going off the beaten path. All of us, my brother, my buddy, the 3 of us, we went off the beaten path. And it really paid off dividends because they were unpressured.
Yep.
The deer were unpressured.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We
could probably spend like 24 hours here interviewing them on all these deer. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, just sitting around here looking at them all. But
you should see my brothers.
Yeah,
you're impressed here. He's got a lot more than I've got. He's the hunter of the family. For
is he
sure.
a tracker too, or
he is not a tracker?
Not a tracker.
No, he's a big buck killer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He shot some big ones this year. He had a giant in Kentucky that was in velvet that he got with a bow. I don't know, it was like the 170s type buck.
So he goes Midwest all over the place?
Yeah, he bought property in Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
And he, up in Canada, what was it? It was like a 160s that he got. But he shot a bigger one. He thought it might have been a 180 inch. He's got it on camera.
Wow.
Didn't get it. Shot it. Left it, and it snowed.
Jeez.
He didn't think he tracked it like, I think he said he went like 100 yards or something like that. He backed out. He was texting us, I'm backing out, and then it snowed. So he couldn't track it. And he was just grid searching the next day. Spent a whole day grid searching and looking for the ravens. But
yeah,
happens, man. It does happen. But
yeah. Got kind of one thing to cap it off here with. So for somebody that wants to go from, stand hunting or still hunting or whatever it is, like kind of like what you did, to tracking and getting into the big woods and stuff, what's your biggest piece of advice for those guys?
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. Okay.
Don't be afraid. Just go.
Yep.
Just go. I think the biggest thing is time. A lot of people have asked, what are you doing? I'm like, you just got to take the time.
Yeah.
Just got to take the time. And you learn as you go. Learn as you go, right?
Yeah.
it's a learning game.
It really is a learning game.
Yeah, the more you're out there, the
the more you're out there, the more you learn.
Yep.
That's right.
There's no replacement for that real world experience out there.
Yep.
That's true.
Well, we got to make a yearly. We got to have you back on here at some point.
Right.
And this was really nice stories, and this was great. We packed a lot of good deer stories into an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this with us. And
anytime, guys. It's good talking to you.
Yeah,
good
we'll definitely get some of the pictures
you guys you're doing a cool thing here.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It really is. I listen to them all. Can't wait to see both of your videos.
They're coming.
So,
Greg's coming next week, and then mine will be out in February.
But, yeah, that's a heck of a deer.
Thank you.
Vermont buck.
Yeah, my best.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I was gonna say you got a 200-pounder in New Hampshire and Maine now. So
New Hampshire, Maine, almost in Vermont. Almost.
Yeah.
192. 192. Just shy.
That put it on the bucket list.
It's coming.
I tried because I was leaving here and going to bigger woods in Vermont. I went only a couple days, but it was like poor conditions.
Yep.
Make the best of it.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
You make the best of it. So
cool. Excellent.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for listening, guys.